I guess this is what I get for running my mouth on Twitter. Oh, I could probably talk for 2 hours about the first 30 minutes of the director's commentary. And the next thing I know, Yukiko is paying me on Patreon just to prove it. So there's a lot to dissect here, and it doesn't all merit being put in the full review, so this video won't be entirely redundant. The first 30 minutes gets me into episode 2. I'll pause the commentary when I need to talk about something. So let's just start.
Oh yeah, we started on black, I forgot.
Okay, so they forgot they started on black. And I know the whole, ooh, I'm not good at memory things meme, but this is the first impression that they chose to give the audience. And it doesn't bode well for anything moving forward. So I'm going to, talk about that stuff when it comes up more specifically. This video is probably going to be a structural mess, but whatever.
Hey, my goodness, is it that time again already? It's commentary time for RWBY.
When I edit this, I'm just going to cut out everything I don't have stuff to say about, like the introductions, or if they divulge into too much of the technical stuff that I don't have any comment on. Hopefully I still have a lot to say, and I didn't just completely overestimate my ability to bitch about shit.
I'm co-creator, co-writer, current director, voice of Neptune, who, if you haven't watched yet, is featured heavily at the end of the volume.
Okay, alright. This is clearly a joke, but it speaks to a larger problem. They're going to Mistral, where Neptune and all the other Team Sun members are from, but they never see them, or anyone for that matter. Volume 5 is the longest by far, but it's a huge bottle episode where nothing happens. They took all the complaining about character bloat from the previous volumes and overcorrected to the point of abandoning logic. This was their opportunity to show the fandom more of the characters that they liked for some reason in Season 3. But they just blew it. It's not about having too many characters, it's about the characters not having anything to do. So cutting it down to just the main characters, but still giving them nothing to do, is not addressing the problem.
Oh yeah, it's really crazy. He comes in at the end in a way that I personally, even as a writer on the show, was not expecting.
A lot of truth is said in jest. That comment is the living, breathing embodiment of that. It's surprising that the writers would use Neptune in that way, ignoring him completely along with every other qualified huntsman in Mistral, and opt to rely on a bunch of random civvies from Menagerie who just got off a temporally distorted boat ride, and honestly, don't have anything to do with the conflict at hand. Ugh.
Hi, Grey Haddock here. I'm the head of Rooster Teeth Animation.
Grey blocked me on Twitter. And everyone else who criticizes RWBY except Tom. Seriously, fuck this guy, and fuck Genlock. I'm gonna edit in a clip from the Anime Expo panel.
We have the character of Miranda. So Miranda is an expert mech pilot, and on top of that, she's kind of the love interest for Chase.
He refers to one of his characters that he's writing in Genlock as the love interest for the main character. That's something bad that critics say about characters when that's the way that they can describe a character, He needs to block himself now.
Yeah.
And this is the Kingdom of Mistral.
Yeah. The Kingdom of Mistral. That's it. That's all we see of it. I mean, Crow walks around in the slums a bit, but otherwise, Mistral doesn't exist outside of these map paintings.
I also just want you to know that I'm miserable right now.
You and me both, Carrie. You and me both.
Buy bonsai plant.
Oh, look at that fade transition. I guess, should we actually talk about the episode at all?
Yeah, let's go.
We don't have to.
Yeah, it's a good question. Should you actually talk about the episode? This is going to be a massive point of contention coming up before this half hour is up. Just remember this. Remember Carrie's little line right there. Should they actually talk about the episode? It'll come up in about 20 minutes, you'll see. Actually, I guess I'm pausing this. It'll come up about 20 minutes into the commentary. Which will hopefully be pretty far into this video. I have no idea how much time is going to pass. This is my attempt at doing an unscripted video, so it's going to be awful.
It was our first premiere episode
without Neptune.
No fights.
Oh, without fights.
No fights, and we were very nervous about it.
The first premiere episode without a fight. Now, that isn't a bad thing. I don't think every episode should have a fight. That's what we got in Volume 3, and it wasn't good. But the problem here is that there is a fight in this episode. I mean, what kind of logic is this? Just because it only lasted one punch doesn't mean it's not a fight. Somebody at Rooster Teeth is trying to get out of an assault charge, I swear. I mean, at the end of the volume, they refer to Raven and Yang having a heart-to-heart talk to be a fight.
This was a big choice for us.
This is a word fight.
Yes.
Yeah, so, again, what's wrong with Yang punching some guy's lights out? Why does that not count?
Let's take this opportunity to actually check in with everyone. You know, I feel like Volume 4 made a little bit sense to hold off.
Well, Volume 4 happened after a time skip that was only dubiously canon.
I think we said it's about 6 to 8 months.
But that necessitated checking in on everyone because their headspace had actually changed since the last time we saw them. So I wonder why you said it made sense to hold off. And there wasn't a time skip between 4 and 5. In fact, there was even a retcon or two, and they went back in time, and some of them got stuck in a time loop for a bit, so their headspace isn't different from the last time we saw them, except for the characters that got retconned, which is 3/4 of them, but still. That was all a result of the writers forgetting where the characters were at the end of the last volume, not a result of anything that happened off screen that would necessitate, like, showing us their new outlook. Nothing that happened in between Weiss getting on the transport and, walking to the front of the, cockpit to talk to the pilot changed her perception of all the stuff that she did in Volume 4. So, while checking in on all 4 characters in the first episode of the season isn't a bad thing, their reasoning behind it is, like, really warped and stupid.
But for Volume 5, we want to let people know, like, hey, stuff's happening, stuff's moving.
Oh, God. Why did he say that? Is that what he thinks he wrote? Stuff's happening, stuff's moving. A volume of characters waiting for a phone call to tell them it's okay to do something. Is stuff happening and stuff moving? Like, it's everyone converging on a fucking waiting room. Stuff's happening, stuff's moving. Let's hear him say that again. Hold on.
But for Volume 5, we want to let people know, like, hey, stuff's happening, stuff's moving.
Ugh.
We went about doing it where, like, some episodes would primarily focus on 2 kids, and then next week it would be another group of people. You know, if your favorite character is Blake,
right,
and you don't get Blake for, like, 2 weeks, you go into Blake withdrawals.
This is what I worry about when they say they like constructive criticism.
We appreciate the constructive criticism comments. We don't appreciate the criticism comments that are rude.
But then they mention that I like Blake, show her more is the constructive criticism that they listened to and acted on. That's not constructive criticism. That's not constructive. And it's not criticism. Why is that the thing they let influence the writing?
Yeah. We tried to take some of the things that we learned from Volume 4, like the time that we spend with characters per episode.
I mean, if they actually did listen to criticism, they would have known that Volume 4 was good because the characters had a goal that they were working towards. Now, that working was just walking, but it's still better than the first 3 volumes. And, like, real criticism would have let them know that. But they don't like it. When people actually legitimately criticize the show, it doesn't look good for them. They come out of it looking bad, and they're like, no, that was rude. They don't like that. They don't want to know they're rude. All they want to know is that people want to see more Blake, so they're going to do that. They're focus testing. They're not listening to criticism. It's a focus group is what they're talking about. And they're calling it constructive criticism to devalue all of the people who have actual constructive things to say about the show. It just doesn't come out, it doesn't come out with them looking great. So they diminish that shit. It's like, no. That's not constructive criticism. That's people being rude. I like Blake. Show her more. That's the level of constructive criticism we want about our show. I mean, Blake is a horribly written character. There's a video about it that has like 100,000 views, but I doubt they'll consider any of that constructive because it wasn't someone saying more, please.
And tried to do our best to make everybody happy.
They're trying to make everybody happy by not improving as writers, just by shoveling more characters into each episode. making the episodes worse than they have to be. We have to put a scene with every character in this instead of, writing scenes that make sense or having those scenes, progress any sort of story. They can't progress the story until they've shown the requisite amount of characters on screen. Oh, God. Ugh. These people, man.
To do our best to make everybody happy, which is a hard thing to do.
I mean, it's also an impossible thing to do.
Very true, very true, very true.
Carrie tries to be the voice of reason more than once in this commentary, and it makes me feel bad for him. It might be me reading too much into it, but we'll talk about it later when, the thing happens that I want to talk about.
Over the course of this volume, but especially in this first episode, to show off Mistral and Haven.
Except they don't do that. They show us the inside of one house a lot, but it's just amazing that they're so oblivious to how little they've accomplished.
Since the very beginning of the show, we always had the idea, it was going to be a lot very Eastern inspired.
Yes, the Eastern inspired Mistral. The home to the very Greek Pura.
Which I think is something you get kind of over the course of Volume 4 as well as we went to all these little towns.
Okay, here we go. More complimenting Volume 4. And deservedly so. There, we got to actually experience the Eastern-inspired environments through the characters. Because they did stuff in those places. We got to see them. We got to see the characters interact with elements of the environment. But Volume 5 is 3.5 hours in this Eastern-inspired town, and we get, what? A paper sliding door, a red couch, a few matte paintings because it's cheaper than making a real set, and having characters sit around and do nothing for one room is also cheaper than having them do anything in this town. You get Crow walking around some slums. You get to see a bar with paper doors, and it's raining outside, and that doesn't seem, like a very economical approach to bar design.
So one of the things we actually did a little earlier in the episode was, because sets are expensive to build, we decided, hey, let's actually do some matte paintings that will kind of let us show more than we probably would have had the ability to actually build in 3D.
You typically watch these commentary tracks to get inside the creative process. But here they're like, yeah, let's just not have a setting the characters can interact with because it's cheaper. Well done, guys. You're supposed to be creative to make the best possible story within your limitations. Not stingy enough to create an overwhelming amount of empty runtime.
I got to be Lionheart for mocap in this scene, and that was a very fun scene to do. I think, was Austin Crow in
I think
that one?
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they talk a lot about doing mocap and other technical things, and I guess Carrie has experience in that area because he directs the show and he needs to talk about directing animation. But they talk about this a lot, I'd almost say more so than writing, and it's just kind of weird. It seems like so much of what's on screen has very little to do with them. At least that's the impression I get from hearing them go on and on about lighting or animation in their commentaries, and not emotional stuff that's happening. But I guess that might be for the best, because whenever they do try to talk about that stuff, it always comes off as really disjointed.
We made the conscious choice of the school was a little bit on the emptier side, so we didn't get to unfortunately see a lot of students.
The school was a little bit on the emptier side. Just a little bit. There's only one person in it. Yeah.
But it made sense to us that, they're kind of in between semesters right now.
If you really boil it down to how long they've been, walking since the end of the last school year, it does not make sense for them to be in between semesters. I mean, remember...
Anytime you bring in, official dates and stuff, that's when plot holes can come up.
But we understand how schools work.
How long did you think this journey was going to take?
2 weeks?
What?
Okay, fine. 3 or something.
We have approximately 1 month before classes resume at Haven.
And we understand that all 4 schools have a synchronized schedule because the Vital Festival tournament takes place at the end of the school year for all 4 schools. So after the entire time skip between 3 and 4 and the duration of Volume 4, they are still in between semesters? Wait, how does that make sense?
Classes being out of session was definitely appreciated by production.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, there it is. They made the cheap choice instead of the good choice. You know, like, you wonder, all these, like, pennies they're trying to pinch through, like, you know, oh, we don't want to actually make Mistral, so let's just paint it in 2D. Or, like, it would be really expensive to have a bunch of students walking around this school. Like, where did all that money go? Just to producing, like, a 3.5 hour volume where nothing fucking happens? They're not really attempting to tell a story here. They're attempting to fill a time quota, like the maximum amount of frames that they can produce for the least amount of money, instead of like just telling a story. I'm kind of glad that they're getting demonetized on YouTube and that they're not even gonna like release volume 6 there, or at least I think that's what they said at one of their panels, because that means that they don't have to make 15-minute episodes just to appeal to the fucking algorithm. You know, if they're back, like, exclusively releasing this on the Rooster Teeth site, like, it doesn't matter if it's a 15-minute video or a 5-minute video. They'll be fine. So, I don't know. It seems like they're trying to play the YouTube algorithm, and if that's the case, and that they can break away from that because, you know, they're not monetizable anymore, that actually could bode well for Volume 6. It might, but we'll see.
And we also wanted to, right off the bat, show that we have a slightly more optimistic Blake than Volume 4.
I really don't like how far they have to bend common sense to drive this whole menagerie arc. So Blake has no reason to be optimistic, right? So it's safe to say that the White Fang has way more powerful than the actual chieftain of Menagerie. We never see what they came back from, but it's like they have evidence and a good relationship with the police. So he's the chieftain. He has evidence, and he has a good relationship to, like, whoever this guy is. I think he's, like, part of, like, a police force? I don't know how this works, like, how, like, the White Fang, or not the White Fang, but how Menagerie really works. It seems like they have, like, you know, like, the chieftain, and that these guys are the police, and then they have, like, the White Fang membership. But I don't know what the fuck they got back from. Like, why they were walking back into that room that night, saying, oh, we can't let them get away with it, and Blake going, oh no, it'll be fine. What does she have to be optimistic about in that instance? It should have just been like Dead to Rights, easy, solved. We have all the power here, but it wasn't to intensify the drama. But then Blake is like, oh no, I'm optimistic now. What?
Whether it was the opening scene back in Lionheart's office or some of the stuff that we're already seeing here, just the...
So, okay, Gray started talking about something. He started talking about the technical aspects of the last scene, even though there's this, like, big writing mess that really should be addressed by the writers in this scene. In the context of what they just said about this scene, Gray, like, takes them back to talk about something that, like, they're not, you know, in charge of. They're not in charge of the technical side. There's a technical crew commentary for that. This is the writer-director commentary, and there is a huge aspect of the writing that needs to be addressed. And it makes me wonder if there's, like, devious shit going down. I'm applying my own headcanon to the real-life exploits of these showrunners. But it seems like they're trying not to acknowledge what an uncanny mess the writing is. They made up this obviously artificial conflict between two random fucking guys and the president of furries, who the cops believe. But no, let's talk about lighting zones instead of letting the technical crew commentary do that.
We were able to introduce some new pieces of software we haven't used before, like SpeedTree, which we've done some really cool things with it so far.
Whoa, wait, hold on a minute. SpeedTree? No more tech crew commentary? Full of complaining about grass? Blasphemy. You're putting the trees in treason. Sorry for that pun, but it's been over 5 minutes of them talking about technical shit instead of the writing, and I'm kind of losing my mind.
I would just like to call out the attention to detail, to all the extra crap he's got stored in the crawl space.
Thank you, Gray. Thank you for finally bringing us back to something that the writer and director can talk about. And that thing being attention to detail. Yeah, that's what you want in the forefront of everyone's mind when you're talking about RWBY. Oh god, that's going to be a line I'm going to use over and over again in the full review. Now here comes an amazing little exchange. Now I've listened to this commentary track probably like 10, 15 times, so I know what's coming up. This is brilliant.
Lionheart, his mind is very busied and messied and all that stuff, and kind of reflecting that in how he keeps his things.
It's weird because he's illiterate.
Okay, so did you see what happened there? Miles makes this grand proclamation about Lionheart's personality that amazingly doesn't apply to Lionheart at all. Busy and messy. This is the CL problem all over again, isn't it? Is that what you're gonna do for the trader guy? Call him, busy and messy based on all of the books he has in his crawl space? Like, that's weird, right? But Carrie butts in with this joke.
It's weird because he's illiterate.
And he changes the subject.
Yeah, it's straight. Every single one of those books, pop-up book.
Yeah.
I feel really bad for Carrie, man. Because it comes off like he sort of gets it. Or at least gets it more than Miles does. Like, he really doesn't want people to be aware of how much of a shit show the writing process is, and,
One shelf's coloring, one shelf's pop-up. Yeah. Hey man, it matters. This map turned out super great.
Back to technical stuff.
Hardcore flashbacks to talking with Ironwood in Volume 3.
Yeah.
Now, okay, this threw me. Hardcore flashbacks to talking with Ironwood in Volume 3. I'm gonna pull up that scene. So, here it is. Why are you getting flashbacks to this scene? Because there's a hologram?
I'm here because this is what was
necessary. This hologram isn't even of a map. This hologram is of a 3D model of his fleet that isn't even to scale with the city. Why is this giving you flashbacks to that moment? That scene of Crow delivering useless exposition to no one for the sake of the audience.
Despite what the world thinks, we're not just teachers or generals.
In this scene, Crow is telling Lionheart something that he didn't already know.
That's about where they've set up their main camp.
This is a more useful scene. So, like, why is it giving you flashbacks to that one? Just because there's a hologram in the background. It's like poetry. They rhyme. What the fuck? And then they kind of, like, devolve into some jokes. But it's Carrie that started it.
Scrolls are cool. I wish I had one.
Yeah.
He just changed the subject right there. The poor guy has like over 4 more hours of this stuff.
I think that's one thing that's fun with every volume of RWBY is you can kind of tell what shows the crew is watching.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here's something that I really appreciate, and that's Miles embarrassing Hirohi by openly calling out the shows that they took inspiration from.
Rooster Teeth, let's look at them first. They are a very innovative studio, very innovative company. They are doing things so differently.
And, just lifted full scenes from.
This volume, everybody was watching My Hero Academia because it's a very good show.
It's very good.
Oh, wait, no, that's a different Patreon reward. I shouldn't talk about that here.
You want to talk about other people's shows more?
Now, call me crazy. Please, please. Because I need to stop thinking this is true. But, Carrie's comment, can we talk about other people's shows some more? It kind of sounds genuine and almost hopeful that he'll get a few seconds where he doesn't have to explain himself or, like, deal with Miles' explanation of, like, the thing they produced. I mean, it happens, like, so many times. This is, like, minute 11 of the commentary, and it's already happened so much. I mean, it's a pattern. It's definitely a pattern here. These interruptions and diversions, you can't say they're not intentional.
We said a cuss.
He did a swear.
Who's got the jar?
Yeah, they're worried about swearing in this, and they're worried about, like, swearing in the show, and it's like they think this is appropriate for children, or if it ever was appropriate for children, when, like, the main themes are about, like, a horrible race war, and, like, 2 different factions plotting genocide, and they're worried about saying shit or ass. It's remarkably dishonest. The fact that the language is more of a concern than the themes goes to show the level of writing they put into this.
Bringing Raven into the fold in a much more dramatic way this volume was something that we were really excited about.
I'm not sure I fully understand this.
Yeah, and I was really glad that fans reacted positively to it.
I get being pleased by a fan reaction. I understand that.
You know, I'm really happy we're actually able to, by this volume, actually get her involved in the plot as much as we'd like to.
But they were happy they got her involved at all? She delivered the brunt of the standing around and talking this volume. In what world did they think they couldn't get her in the story? But are they aware that they're the writers and that they didn't have to write it that way? Like, I feel like they're trying to, like, pass the buck onto the script for how the series was written. Like, I don't know what goes on in their heads. I wish I did. I honestly wish I could see inside their heads. But in what world did they think they couldn't put Raven in this volume? Nothing happened. They're not, like, in a glut of content that they need to, like, scrape and choose what to show. They didn't show anything. Every episode has, like, at least 5 minutes of characters standing there talking about something that they could otherwise just be showing. And they're like, no, we're glad we got Raven in at all. What was the alternative? Like, god damn. I wish they would talk about that stuff. I wish they would talk about that stuff. The director's commentary fucking directed by J.J. Abrams. It's the mystery box. Why are they happy about being able to put Raven in? You'll never know. Because it's not like they didn't have room for her.
I guess this is the typical warning where we say if you're just watching the commentary first, don't do that because we're going to spoil you.
They warn people about that. You know, oh, don't watch the commentary first. But like, pretty soon we're going to get to something.
You can make those checks out to Cash and send them to milesluna@fakeaddress.com.
Wouldn't sending them to Miles Luna defeat the purpose of having a check made out to Cash in the first place?
Raven would never put her kids' drawings on the fridge. You know why?
It's just ice dust.
Did they just unintentionally do world building? That feel when there's more world building in the commentary than, you know, in the show itself.
I felt like the audience could really relate to the characters in the scene because it's like, cool, we made it here. And the first thing we're told is, you're going to have to wait a bit.
A bit. You're going to have to wait a bit. You know, from the moment that they walk out of Lionheart's office to the moment that Lionheart calls them on the phone to tell them that, you know, they've waited long enough. It's 2 hours in real time. In real time. Our time. In their time, it was probably 6 to 8 months, but there are no official dates, so who gives a fuck? But our time was wasted. 2 hours of it. And significantly longer if you, for some reason, bought the Blu-ray, because, Jesus fuck, I'll get to that when it comes up.
Oh, man.
Oh, man is right. After a volume of walking, we get to sit through a volume of sitting, while all of the other characters inadvertently make their way to that same place. It's like a counterpoint to...
And why aren't we in more of a hurry to get to Haven?
And now it's like, now that we're here, why aren't we doing anything about it? The writers, they never had to write it that way. They don't have to write it this way. They don't. They chose to essentially write 2 volumes of space and then, like, terrible fight scene at the end of the volume where everything gets resolved in a neat little bow. They didn't have to write it that way. No one ever has to write it that way.
It's a tough pill to swallow, but I think it leads to, in the next episode, seeing why we don't like Leonardo Lionheart.
There it is. The smoking gun in this commentary. They actually admit that they write the show worse on purpose because they know people don't watch the fucking show. People don't watch the episodes. They revealed this stuff last volume. They very clearly showed Leo and Watts being bad together. And now they're like, oh, we're going to treat it like a twist. We're going to show all this shit. But it's for people who don't fucking watch.
It's been fun having people start to piece together that W, seeing it in volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
I could imagine it would be fun having people piece together what that W was. Because, back in Volume 2, it wouldn't make sense for any of Cinder or Torchwick's goons to be able to hack the CTT, but, sadly enough, it would have made even less sense to have an extra character we haven't met yet when 90% of the cast don't have anything to do at all. Actually, that would be terrifying to have people piece together what that W from Volume 3 means. Oh, wait, did he say Volume 2 or 3?
Seeing it in Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, he did say Volume 2. Hold on. The W showed up in Volume 3. Yeah, see, this is Volume 3. There's the W right there. Right there. The W, I don't think it was in Volume 2. I mean, was it? Is this it? Is this where the W is? No, this is like, that's the Schnee logo. Why does she have the Schnee logo as her? God damn it! They say these things in the commentary that make you think the details are worth paying attention to, when they're fucking not. Yeah, it's the Queen. It's the Queen. It's not Watts' W that was in Volume 2. Look, I don't care. They got 2 and 3 confused. It's fine. When they say stuff like that and you believe them, you're like, wait a second, was the W in Volume 2? The details in the show aren't important, and they make you think they are.
So originally in this episode, the way we had written it out, it went from that scene to the Yang scene that's coming up after this. And in fact, the line actually kind of carries over.
I need a drink.
Aren't you a little young to be drinking?
But when we're getting the edit together of this, we decided to put this clip in. We never know for sure that people watch after the credits.
Don't pander to the people who fell asleep during the Nuck fight. The people who don't watch your shows is not the audience you should be pandering towards. Or, hey, maybe they're actually just pandering towards the people who actually took a shot every time they saw a jump cut in that fight, and now their brains are irrevocably damaged, and they actually like Volume 5 because of that. Maybe this is just a long game they're playing. I guess they really do need to remind us that sometimes the end credit scene does count, because my head is still spinning from Volume 2.
Because we were kind of playing with time a little bit, I want to make sure people understood when this happened canonically.
Oh, shit. He said canonically, not chronologically. He said, oh, shit. That's the best Freudian slip in the whole damn series. He said canonically. Canonically. Need to hear that again.
I want to make sure people understood when this happened canonically, so that we kind of get it.
Yeah, you need to remind people that this happened canonically. Because the Volume 2 end credit scene didn't happen canonically at all. Now, here's the rub. They mentioned that they've been messing with time. Now, this goes back to, the very first opening thing in this whole, video. The fact that they forgot that they started out the show on a black screen. And the context behind that, presumably. Now, because they're claiming all these temporal shenanigans, I wonder, where does this scene happen? This scene from the end of Volume 4, with Crow, out like a fucking light. Chronologically speaking, canonically speaking. Oh my god, I can't believe he fucking said that. I listened to this, I don't know how many times, and he said fucking canonically instead of chronologically. It's perfect. Oh man. Where does this scene happen? They reference in the Volume 5 opening that Crow almost died.
Only one of us almost died.
Hey.
But then they also forgot about this scene where he's already in Mistral and he's laid up in bed because of the poison? The fucking airship landed in the city and they took Crow to a place where he was sick. And as he was getting better, they dragged him out of the city so that he could wake up outside and guide them in as if nothing happened, only for RWBY to ruin it by referencing subterfuge? Or did Crow get better on the airship ride back to Mistral? So they walk in and everything is all peachy. Crow goes to his bar and gets drunk, finds Little Oz, and then this scene of Crow is sleeping is actually him drunk with alcohol poisoning. And the others are in there talking to Oscar as RWBY takes Crow off to sleep off his hangover. and then oh wait, no, hold on. Because Oscar is like in this like time flash when Ruby's writing her letter. Isn't he? Yeah, he is. So wait, this is the time fuckery then. Like, did they forget? How thoroughly did they forget what they fucking wrote at the end of Volume 4? They claim that they're trying to clarify. They're trying to clarify when the after credits scene happened. They put the end credits scene where it goes, where it fits chronologically into the events of Volume 5. But they completely fucked up the intro, the opening, the first impression you as the watcher get of Volume 5. It retcons the end of Volume 4. It straight up just kicks Volume 4 off a cliff. Like, nope, that didn't happen. They didn't take the airship into Mistral to get Crow medical attention. After the Nuck fight and the airship picking them up, that shit didn't happen. No, they walked into Mistral all fine and dandy like nothing happened. Did the airship leading them into Mistral bust an epic U-turn and take them somewhere that wasn't Mistral for Crow to get better? And Ruby to write her letter, only to like take them back the next day or so?
Oh, look at those speed trees.
Damn it, Speed Tree. Rest in peace, grass meme.
When we were getting to writing this volume, we agreed that this was very much going to be a big moment for Yang.
Okay, now I sound like a broken record here, expressing my befuddlement over and over again, but who else's moment was this supposed to be? They already said they made the choice between a fight scene, which this is, need I remind you, and giving each member of Team RWBY their own moment in this episode. So what happened? Why are they discussing whether this is a big or small moment? Like, was giving her a small moment like on the table? It's such a nothing point to make.
It just felt good to see her back on her feet again after her having to really deal with everything before feeling comfortable enough to leave her home again.
Doesn't that make the moment inherently big? And like after the arc that they chose to give her last volume, her growth is inherently being tested by stepping out of her comfort zone for the first time since her arm got cut off. She made that comfort zone for herself, and then she broke out of it. Yang's arc in Volume 4 was a good arc. Logically continuing that arc into like how she handles stress outside of her comfort zone is automatically big. Like there's this thing about good writing is that it begets more good writing. Yang is a messed up person. She has a dad that goes, oh yeah, sure, you lost your arm, but you know, what's the worst that could happen? Go out and back and get lost in the woods before finishing school, you crazy scamp. There's stuff about her that makes like these moments big on their own. And it's so like weird to hear them say like they discussed making this a big moment for Yang. Watching them do the most obvious things, and they kind of fuck it up. I mean, like, not to get into like the review. So they make this like, ooh, it's a big moment for Yang, but they don't. It's an inherently big moment because of the nature of Volume 4. But then they still screw it up, even though they like actually discussed making it a big moment. The commentary is awful.
You know, the fact that she's not trying to pick a fight immediately. She tries to just brush him off.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, she didn't try to pick a fight immediately. Carrie, did you just look at the scene you talked over? I mean, you didn't even finish that sentence before she threw hands. Yeah, she tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
But, has to resort to punching his tooth out.
Yeah, she had to resort to it. That was absolutely necessary. Or, maybe she just didn't want him to touch her hair. Almost like she's returning to normal. Not like I'm trying to make the statement that Volume 1 was canon or anything, but isn't this like a return to form for her? And not, the opposite of that? That exchange of, he's going for her hair, she grabs him, she semblances up, she punches him. She semblances up after, like, not having been damaged. So how did she semblance up? But that's for the review, not for the commentary. That was her trying really hard not to pick a fight, according to fucking the director of the show, who probably wrote this scene.
I remember I saw some people that were like, guys, that bandit's got this crazy semblance. And we're like, nah, we just kind of like the goofiness of it.
Yeah,
but
it's just cartoony.
No, guys. No, that's not a semblance at all. I hate this so much. It's cartoony. It's a cartoon.
It already happened.
Yeah. No. It's perfectly normal. It doesn't mean anything because it doesn't matter. It's just a visual gag. It's not like the whole motherfucking plot of this volume revolves around how fucking unbelievable and mind-shatteringly insane it is that one of the characters has an extra power that's not related to their semblance. We need to start questioning our fucking Gandalf, Dumbledore, wise leader, immortal mentor figure because of his crazy ability to give people non-semblance powers. But stop thinking about this guy's non-semblance power, you fucking moron. Can't you see how stupid it is to think about someone's non-semblance power? We just like it because it's goofy, you idiot. Stop thinking about it because it doesn't matter. But when another character has a non-semblance power, you're clearly supposed to think it's the most important and evil thing in the world. Sure. Oh my god. They can undercut their entire shit by being stupid.
His ability to like rubberize his body. Sure. Yeah, that's nothing.
It's nothing. The entire point of the show is nothing. I'm mad at people who don't care. They don't give a flying shit about what they're writing. Raven can turn into a bird. Oh, I can't believe it. The world is collapsing in on itself. Bouncy guy. It's a cartoon. They're going to talk about more technical crew commentary stuff after this that I really don't care about.
Do you want to talk at all about, there's a little bit of a kind of a misdirect setup.
Okay, the misdirect. I have a lot to say about this.
Oh,
That
yeah.
kind of starts in here.
Oh, yeah.
That you guys are kind of wondering how this is going to play with the audience.
It's funny, at the end of volume 4, you know, we show her, there's clearly, hey, this way's RWBY, this way's comically Bandit's Raven. And people swear up and down that, you know, it's obvious that she goes one way or the other.
Right, okay. People swear up and down that it's obvious that she goes one way or the other. And you know why, right? So here it is. There's Mistral. Off to the right, there's Bandits. Look at the way she's facing on the bike. Look at the way the bike is facing. Look at the fork in the road that the bike is facing. Look, she's starting up. She's starting up her motorcycle. And she's not turning. She's going straight. This is the director of the show. The man's not qualified to direct traffic.
We were trying to not do that, so if you heard the motorcycle go slightly one way in the surround sound...
If we heard the motorcycle. He thinks it's ambiguous. Like Yang was just driving off to execute a fucking K-turn. Does he watch the animation cuts that are going into the show he's directing? Did he, sign off on a cut where Yang unambiguously drives right? This is yet another instance of pandering to people who don't watch the show. Like the writers and director themselves.
So, we definitely, we wanted to have this kind of misdirect or question going into it is where exactly is Raven going?
You mean Yang?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And even the reason behind it doesn't make any sense.
So when we got to present that moment, we said, okay, well, let's make it look like she's going to Raven. And, she is.
They didn't make it look like she was going to Raven, though.
Let's mess with the expectation of that and what exactly she is going there for.
They want a twist? They can't even think of, a play on expectations?
Coming in with option 3, she's going to Raven for RWBY.
She's going one way or the other. No, both! It's so dumb. The choice is between going to RWBY, doing, the responsible thing, the quote-unquote responsible thing, or going to Raven, doing, the reckless thing. Both are things that are in her character, is what I'm trying to say. They decide for the sake of, I don't know, their wish fulfillment. They make her do something incredibly stupid, I know I made this joke back in the Abridged series. It's so much easier to track down a hostile tribe of nomadic wanderers whose leader actively wants nothing to do with me, based on a secondhand report of where they were months ago, than it is to track down a girl wearing red in the forest when I know her exact destination and the route she's taking. But making the twist that she wanted to go through all that trouble of finding Raven just to find Ruby, even though she knew exactly where to look for Ruby, is like, she's stupid. You know, it's what Ty said. Oh, you lost brain cells along with that arm. She did. She actually did.
For a few weeks, everyone's gonna hate us.
Yeah.
And tell us that we don't understand what Yang wants.
Yeah, no, that isn't the reason people hate you. Or it's not the reason they should hate you anyway. I mean, they don't know what Yang wants either. Who do they think they are? All she wanted her whole life was to see her mom. Oh wait, I mean she wanted to be a thrill seeker, but she didn't know what tomorrow would bring.
I want a life where I won't know what tomorrow will bring.
Wait.
And that'll be a good thing.
But they still failed to write and direct a scene that expressed the simplest possible intention. They didn't want the audience to know which way was driving. Yeah, alright. If I was going to suggest a way to fix that scene that is heavily broken, beyond repair, and is uncannily stupid on top of all that, you could have shown her run out of gas at that crossroad, and just pan up without any visible driving at all. And then just show a scene where she's walking her bike up to a gas station instead of stopping at a bar? Wait, this is a gas station. There are pumps outside. Wait. The gas station is a bar? It's not a bar, it's a gas station. What the fuck? What kind of gas station serves liquor? Was this guy, like, supposed to be drunk? What the hell's going on with this scene? Yeah, no, because he's serving alcohol. Because he's like, aren't you young to be drinking? What the fuck? Ooh, yeah, you gotta pay attention to the details. Attention to detail. All the attention to detail in RWBY. The fucking bar is a gas station. How can that be legal? Or, okay, better yet, you skip the whole bar and gas station scene altogether, and then you just show her run out of gas, and then just end it on the, the Volume 4 scene. Or not the Volume 4, the Episode 4 scene. Where the bandits come out of the woodwork and they beat up Yang, right? So just show her in Volume 4, run out of gas at that crossroad, and then in Volume 5, cut back to her, and then all the bandits come out and surround her. And then she knows where Raven is and decides it'll be faster to go to her to get to Ruby, instead of just going to Mistral. And going, taking, like, the easy way, like, the guaranteed way? Oh my god, it's so dumb. She doesn't know where Raven is. Like, she doesn't even know where any of this shit is happening. At the end of episode 2, right? Now I'm getting off the topic of the director's commentary, but it bears saying, she's not where Yang is. She's up here in, like, the north of Mistral.
Lots of air traffic around northern Anima.
Kidnapping Weiss after the fucking wasp attack. So she's, like, nowhere near where Yang is, and it's just, like, dumb luck that she went, like, so far south that Yang caught up with her? Like, the bandits, they move around. How did Yang know that she was even still on Mistral? Well, why would she stay on Mistral? Why would the maiden stay on Mistral? I'm getting off topic. Let's go back to the commentary.
Austin did that shot, and I think he drank every time he opened the file.
Kind of want to pick up on another thing that was obviously a joke, because it makes the end of the volume so much more bearable when you imagine that all the layout artists and editors were completely drunk when cutting together the last fight. Go watch RWBY is Broken if you haven't. Or if you have, watch it again, because that last fight is an absolute mess.
Something about the reference that we captured, he couldn't figure it out. So it was just me and Austin just like staggering around.
More talking about the technical aspects of this show, which is sort of a small mercy.
Silver Eyes line?
Silver Eyes is not an observation that's unique to Ozpin. Silver eyes are canonically a very rare eye color. It's not a mysterious thing to be like, oh, you have silver eyes, like the fucking fairy tale legend of the warriors with silver eyes. It's weirder for Ozpin to be the only person remarking on it.
I'm really happy with how this one turned out. They did a lot of cool particle effects.
You know, is it just me, or do the dissolve effects on those characters look a lot like the Infinity War dissolve?
Somebody asked me, what is Nora hanging on? And I just went, shh, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you know, more stuff not mattering, and oh, yeah, it's just the intro, and if anything in the show shouldn't matter, it should be the intro, right? But it's the same attitude they take towards, you know, the most important plot point in the volume. I feel like it should just be like a wake-up call for them. Like, suddenly, during recording the commentary, they say, oh no, that doesn't matter. And then they just, like, snap into you know, being awake. And their eyes get wide. And they're like, oh, is that exactly how we treat everything else about this show? All the attention to detail we put in to making the bar a gas station? Or is that a Texas thing? I can't get over that. Or to calling Lionheart a cluttered mind, or any of the stuff that they talk about later in the commentary. Like, they mention Corsican Fennec, like, much later on, like in episode, like, 7 or 8. And they say that, oh no, they're not on the front line. They don't go on, you know, attacks and assassinations themselves. But then, like, the only time it comes up in the entire series, they're like right there on the front lines, attacking and for themselves.
Obviously they're antagonists, but something about them that we really wanted to like hone in on was the fact that they are schemers. Yeah. They're not always the ones to be on the front lines with the biggest sword, ready to crack some skulls.
Yeah, okay. So, like, they're not on the front lines, right? They're not on the front lines. But then when we jump ahead to, like, what, episode 10? Yeah, that's episode 10. And, like, here they are, like, right on the front lines with, I mean, I don't want to, like, go bust out, like, the tape measure and the protractor, but they're carrying, like, 4 swords each. And I think together, that's a bigger sword than Ilya's. So, I don't know. It seems like the one thing about Corsican Fennec that they wanted to show, they just said fuck it and did the exact opposite. See, the stuff about, oh no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? They get these ideas that are in their own heads. And then it's cool to them. They're like, oh yeah, check out Corsican Fennec. You know them. They're all sneaky and conniving. But, to them, that makes perfect sense because they've been writing it the whole time. But they never actually show the audience that shit. So when they're like, oh, it's the big moment. The fight. Fucking Gira and Kelly, they're all gonna die. So let's have them be there. It'll be like something crazy because you know that these guys who are never on the front lines are going out there to join the fray. But they never showed them, like, not on the front lines. So, like, the one time it came up is, like, the exception to the rule. And it's cool to them because, you know, it's all been in their heads up to this point, but they never actually wrote any of it down. Ooh, Corsican Fennec, they're so sneaky. But they're not. I mean, they're not. They were never sneaky on screen. We don't know that. All we see is them joining the fray. With, if not the biggest sword, most certainly the most. It all comes back to no one giving a shit about anything. Let's continue. I got off track. That's not in the first half hour.
I also love how people were like, this thing foreshadows a lot, but they never do Giant Salem.
I'm not sure anybody actually said that. Even though it was accurate, I mean, I guess foreshadowing, reusing the animation from the intro exactly. I think most of the intros have shown Weiss fighting Emerald, which never happened, and most of them show Ruby fighting Cinder, which I suppose happened in Volume 2, but that's like a rivalry that doesn't go anywhere. Okay, they haven't said anything yet, but this is like the first red flag of this fucking Blu-ray release. I mean, it's a mistake. It's a mistake, right?
I mean, we can talk over these if we want.
I was about to ask.
All these amazing people.
Yeah.
Carrie just says, oh yeah, we can talk over these if you want. Which would seem like the silver lining of literally fucking up the show. These people paid. They paid for it. I paid for this. and they get an inferior product to the YouTube version. They left all of the intros and all of the credits on the Blu-ray for no earthly reason, and they even changed the play movie button from the first 4 DVDs and Blu-rays to say play all instead, just because they wanted to be passive-aggressive about it, I suppose. But, on top of that, if you're a first member and you watch the episodes that air on Saturday mornings when, the show comes out, they're unfinished most of the time. So the people who are actually, paying Rooster Teeth money are getting the worst products. It's spectacular. It's embarrassing, to say the least. And you'd think the silver lining of, adding this extra, half hour to the runtime of this volume that's already way too long is that you'd get more time to talk in the commentaries. But they don't do that. In fact, they specifically reference going off topic for the intros.
All right. So what are we going to talk about that's not RWBY related?
It's right before episode 4 starts. They got 3 episodes in, and then they're like, yeah, we don't even have enough to talk about to, go on for the extra half hour. So we just got to talk about some random shit. Discussing if ramen is still ramen if you don't use ramen. I think it was on a podcast. I don't think it was on a panel. I think it was actually, on a podcast. But Monty said something about wanting to make a special version of RWBY Volume 1 that played at half speed just so he'd have more time to talk about the show. Gone are those days, I suppose.
We're up to about 27, 28 animators, not including the leads.
I think. I don't know. I don't know anything about animation. I can only make uneducated guesses. But I think all the jump cuts are a result of having too many animators. It feels like with some of the cuts where they just kind of forget to put anyone in the shot. You have a bunch of animators and you give one of them a shot and say, oh, we need a picture of this guy punching this guy. And they don't have any context for it because, I don't know, the production's a shit show. And then they just animate it and they stick it in there. And then they don't have any time to go back and, put it in the context of the shot they need to. I mean, it probably comes down to time, right? But there's no reason that the show has to come out weekly. You're not on TV. You shouldn't try to emulate TV. You want to have this whole Saturday morning cartoon vibe. But it's you don't have to do that, right? It takes months to make, a 20-minute episode of, a Saturday morning cartoon. They usually make those months in advance and spend a long time polishing it. You can take your time when you're making something if you want it to be quality. You don't have to just squeeze, out 15 minutes a week. And so, instead of having more animators just to pump out more frames, you could, have a team of animators that do polished content that's worth a shit. Volume 5, it looks the absolute worst out of all of the volumes, and that includes back when they were still using Poser. Having more animators didn't help. It didn't improve any situations. The one good-looking scene was done by Kim, who took credit for it in the Tech Crew commentary.
What I did was kind of pick and choose different sections from our fight animation library and kind of combining that all together to make the gunchuck scene. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how many times I looked at Monty's gunchuck scene, and I was really looking at the way that he worked with his cameras to really get that feeling that he brought to his fights.
So I don't think having more animators did any favors for this volume, because it's too long, right? You need more animators just to get the people sitting stuff done. Oh yeah, ooh, look, it's Oscar, it's Crow, they're sitting, ooh. You need animators to do that, but that shouldn't be in the show at all. You don't need more animators. You need writers that know what they're doing and don't just waste everyone's time with bullshit.
Yeah, it really pays off. It shows in a lot of the little details.
It's unnecessary. It adds more points of failure to the pipeline.
Oh yeah, it's that good intro.
That's an insult, right? Oh, it's that good intro. Oh, he said it twice. Get it? Because we saw it twice in the past 2 minutes. Like, what is that person? That person called Miles Luna, who's like, ooh, look at that good intro again. At least Carrie's trying to like pull it back into the realm of sanity. Like, yeah, guys, don't worry, I have to watch it 14 times too. I'm right there with you.
Hope everybody's ready to watch this 13 more times.
Like, they're laughing as if it would have been so hard to throw this back in fucking Final Cut and take the, like, 2 minutes it would take to chop off the intros and credits.
What I really love is how you changed just a little something in every single one.
Yeah, and
I'm totally not screwing with the audience right now.
They clearly understand that this is a stupid decision. So who decided it was a good idea? Like, everybody who's like watching this, it has this like really like condescending shitty tone about it. You're telling me that they didn't like have the forethought to go, guys, what the fuck did you just do to fix this literal mistake? But I mean, here I am. I'm watching it. It might be easier than I thought to hit 2 hours on this. I mean, it's disgusting. I'm disgusted. I'm actually disgusted.
How about the Vernal misdirect too, which we'll be getting to later.
We went out of our way to make sure that got misdirected.
Yeah, they sure did go out of their way to make sure that Vernal got misdirected.
It's always very hard to try and keep a twist from getting figured out. When we write this, it's very easy to think about it as like that big movie version.
Oh, it is. It is, isn't it? Yeah, this one makes me cry on the inside. It's super easy to think about it like a movie. Okay, raise your hands if you've seen a movie where every 15 minutes or so, there's a cliffhanger followed by a hard cut to like a slow plotting 7-minute long scene of characters talking about something that could just be happening on screen. I don't know what's worse, the fact that they insist on writing like this, or the fact that they think it's writing like a movie, or the fact that they presumably tried to avoid this criticism by putting the fucking credits on the Blu-ray. Like, no, guys, it's just episodes. It's not a movie. It's not a serial story. They have a sort of a misunderstanding of what a 3-act structure is. I would call it like a 3-chunk structure, right? You've got boring parts where people talk about nothing, and then you have the more active parts where people either fight or they talk at each other madder or sadder or something. And then like the cliffhanger, right? The question, the threat, or the sappy climax, if it's, one of those episodes. They just write these 3 chunks over and over again instead of trying to like pace out a narrative over each episode, let alone multiple episodes. No movie is 40-something chunks worth of dialogue where half of them end up not mattering or being about a scene we should have just seen instead of hearing a bunch of assholes talk about it, or a hero moment that 9 times out of 10 isn't earned. But to bring this back to the subject of the audience being able to guess your twists. See, the audience that wouldn't have to wildly speculate about, what could be happening if there were actually things happening that could engage them. When people get entranced by the possibility that something will happen, you should take that as a wake-up call to make more things happen. Because clearly it's what people like. They spend all week thinking about it until they eventually guess it. And then they'll either be underwhelmed when it does happen, or they'll think their headcanon is better. It's like a lose-lose situation trying to play to twists instead of just writing a goddamn story.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of good misdirect in that conversation itself.
Having a spring maiden whose name is Vernal, that sounds almost as dumb as an autumn maiden whose name is Fall. Except that's exactly what you did. So the question is, are they stupid enough to do it twice? Or are they stupid enough to think we'll fall for it twice? It's not like It's not like some mystical, magical puzzle box that we have to, really apply ourselves for. It's really just a 50-50 shot. When the existence of a twist is the norm, it's not impressive to solve it. It's just sort of just really, really bad. Let's continue.
Being able to show off just how much of a jerk Watts can be was a lot of fun for this whole scene.
One of these days, I really hope they learn to find writing actual scenes to be fun.
Especially to Lionheart,
Yeah, I get it. You like showing Watts bully Lionheart, but to what end? No end. It doesn't affect any of the characters or the direction of the story moving forward.
Salem has different approaches when it comes to dealing with different people.
Oh, hey, look! The exact same complaint again, in record time! Salem has different approaches to intimidating her different henchmen. To no end! She's demonstrating her fakeness in front of the people she's using that fakeness against. We can tell she's being fake. They should be able to tell as well. If she has, something over them, some power or some, agreement or blackmail or just that she's powerful and could kill them. If she has something over them where she can blow her act by openly manipulating them in front of each other, then she doesn't need to use the act at all. And if she does use the act in front of the people who she's trying to manipulate, then why does it work? This is the problem with Cinder being all like, ooh, I'm Cinder in front of Mercury and Emerald back in Volume 2. They're like, oh yeah, hey, let's write the character that goes, ooh, I'm Cinder, without paying any thought to why she would be doing that. If you want to behave differently to get Leo to do what you want, and then you let Cinder see you manipulate Leo, you're like, wait, that's not what she's like. She's just did a different thing. She's being different on behalf of this guy. What's wrong? And that's like losing the zeitgeist, right? And if she can do that, she doesn't have to keep up the performance. I had to look it up to make sure zeitgeist was the right word. It was. Thanks for sticking with me.
Jessica Negri, who voices Cinder, just steps her game up every single year.
I love this admission that Jessica Negri steps her game up every year, as if they're admitting that, Volume 4, where she didn't have any lines, was better than her performance in Volumes 2 and 3. I mean, it's still better than in Volume 5, but it's still just kind of funny that they're like, no, every year she gets better. In Volume 2, she's terrible. Volume 3, she's still terrible. Volume 4, she doesn't speak. Perfect. Keep it up.
It's all that chibi practice.
Honestly, yeah.
I think it helped.
And they call out Chibi, where I think Jessica Negri actually has a really good performance as Cinder, because overacting like a maniac fits the tone of that show. But when she's trying to be taken seriously, it's just not gonna happen with that shitty first-year drama student smooth voice. It's not a performance of a character. It's just a voice she's doing without any of the conscious thought that would go into making that a character trait. The things she's supposedly supposed to be feeling don't shine through in the performances at all.
I made a call kind of late in the scene to change a camera on something. I said I had to. I'm sorry. There's a jump cut.
Whoa. Carrie changed something in post to fix a jump cut? Give that man a raise and then subtly make him aware of all of the other jump cuts in the show.
Pilot Boy?
Yeah, Pilot Boy, B.O.I. Yeah. People fell in love with Pilot Boy.
I actually explained why everyone likes Pilot Boy in my top 10 scenes of RWBY. Or, I explained why people should like Pilot Boy. I don't know why they actually do. But it's because he plays a pivotal role in Weiss's character development. And it's interesting how fans, either subconsciously or not, latch on to characters that matter even slightly. It's an interesting thought. One that should be probably cataloged for further use.
Fans will latch on to a background character and love them to death, and Cute Guard here is one of those.
I still have no clue why people like Blake's bodyguard. They're probably all deviants who should be purged.
definitely a lot of Han Solo influence when it came to writing a lot of his lines.
Wait a second. Don't call this guy Han Solo. He's not a straight guy. That would make him Lando. I just made a joke about a movie no one saw. All right.
And I love the little detail of Weiss is using items that are essentially been smuggled from her family.
That's
I
illegal
really like
dust.
it. Yeah, and she's like, I don't give a darn.
Hold on, wait. Isn't her life in serious danger? You can't really call that anything at all. Why is that a detail you like? The alternative to using the dust is not using the dust and then getting killed by your spooky bees.
Spooky bees.
Circumstances forced her to do this. She isn't exerting her own agency over the situation. Certainly, though, she is feeling that I don't give a fuck about my family thing. But this isn't a demonstration of those feelings. If anything, it's a demonstration of a self-preservation instinct. The things Miles talks about as like stuff he likes is beyond me.
One thing that fans have been wanting for and essentially was getting some more representation in the show, LGBTQ, people of varying skin color and all that stuff. So we wanted to try and do a lot of things that are just like subtle in the background. Like in the first episode, we see the handsome couple with the little bonsai.
This is a good point to bring up. If I recall correctly, they've promised this multiple times since Volume 1. But the point of representation is to, normalize whoever they're representing. And not to like, oh, look how special our first gay character is. Look at how gay they are.
We kind of had the lines like, I just want to get home to my man and just like be done with this and get a drink. We got some feedback from a few members of the crew that was actually worried that one of the first on-screen like characters we would have confirming something like that. It's like, oh, he's kind of selfish and then he dies. I didn't think about that.
And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. See, the people already love this character, myself included. The 2 scenes he's in are 2 of the 3 good scenes in Volume 5. Because he's a cool guy, and he's a smuggler who's willing to rob the most powerful family in Atlas. But you can't have him be gay because of the exact same reason people like him. But gay guys can't have personalities. They have to be sterile, perfect representations of gayness and literally nothing else. Let's not even give them a physical third dimension. These guys are completely bland and inoffensive. Please give us credit for making gay characters. No. The operative word is characters.
Yeah, I guess Ilya will be the first on-screen or on like dialogue moment.
Right. Ilya, she's the first gay character. Someone whose whole motivation boils down to getting cucked by a straight girl. Or a bi girl. Or Blake. She got cucked by Blake. The point of her is that her gayness wasn't being sated, so it took over her rational thought.
But I guess back then you were just too busy falling for Adam to notice.
Ilya doesn't have any morals or convictions of her own. She drops all that shit like the instant she gets mounted. She like literally just gets mounted and this like she stops being a White Fang member. She doesn't have any real convictions. It's all just bullshit.
Can I just say though? Everybody's right. Pilot Boy's the freaking best.
He is.
Yeah. He's the best, but somehow not good enough to be gay. You gotta wipe away all of those unseemly character traits before you go around doing any representation. Gay people can't smuggle dust. If they're doing something interesting, how will they make time for all of the being attracted to other men they have to do? That's way more insulting to be like, no, a gay character can't be morally dubious. They have to be perfect. It's bad. This is bad, as Ren would say.
For animation, that was definitely hard to do. And then for final layout, they also went back in and had to do a lot of island continuity.
It's amazing how priorities shift over time. Like in episode 2, they're like, ooh, island continuity. We gotta make sure all those floating rocks are in the right place. But then by the time they get to episode 11, they're like, oh, fuck, where did our main characters go? No, they're not even like that. They're like...
shooting a little bit more towards the walls so that we wouldn't have to show somebody in the background unless we wanted to.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the first half hour of the commentary. 3 hours of incoherent rambling edited down to a little over an hour of slightly more coherent rambling. I'm still working on the Volume 5 review, obviously, but go support me on Patreon in the meantime. And the Floof artist just started a Patreon, so go support him too.